Me? Good.
Yeah.
So thanks to Mike. You guys know him, and he's the one that invited me. We met at the Apologetics conference in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Did anybody go to that? Other than Mike and myself? Nobody? Okay. So anyway, that's how we met, and they had a presentation there on the art of apologetics. And guess what? Someone else, I don't know who this is, did this very same thing, but they called it the apologetics of art. So who did that first? Was that me or this person? I have no idea. Anyway, so does everyone know what apologetics is? And by the way, can you go ahead and don't start the video, but you can go ahead and get ready to hit that clip. But start back at the beginning, please. But don't start yet. All right? You're really feeling, Aaron. You said you could do it. You're feeling it. This is called feeling.
Put on the gray shirt stick for him.
All right, hold it. There you go. There you go. Pressure was on. So anyway, anybody? So has everyone have heard of apologetics? Some not. Okay. Anybody ever heard of Frank Turek? Some. Okay, there are a few. Or how about William Lane Craig? Okay, how about this? Does anybody in this room know the Lord? How about Jesus Christ? Everybody's on board with that too. Very good. Okay. Well, apologetics, and of course I didn't know nothing about apologetics myself. Apologetics comes from the Latin word apologia, which means to defend. You're defending your faith. And what these men do, like Frank Turek and William Lane Craig and J. Warner Wallace, they're defending the faith for people that think the scriptures are moral tales. They think that the scriptures are mythology. But because they don't believe in the scriptures, they have to use another source. What do they use? They use information. They use historical documentation. They use scientific information. They're using philosophy to convince, and they're trying to present a case. Is it possible that Christ rose from the dead? Because if it's possible, and he did rise from the dead, then game over. There is no other God. There is no Moloch. There is no Mormon God. There's only the one true God, which is Christ Jesus, if he truly rose from the dead. And that's what these apologists are out there trying to prove, to give evidence for a skeptical world that says, that's not real. That's not history. That's fabrications. Okay, so anyway, so who in the world am I and why am I here? I'm not an academic. I'm not an apologist. I'm not a theologian. I'm just a lowly graphic artist. Do we have any other artists in the room? Am I alone here? Okay, are you majoring in art? Yes. Or what's your major in? What kind of discipline?
Graphic design.
Graphic design. Anybody else? Music also is an art. Music, we got some musicians here? Music, okay. We have some artists here. Okay, so I'm just a lowly graphic artist that's going to give you some opportunities. I'm going to try to hook you into who I am. So I had a little piece of paper here that I wrote all this stuff down. So we're getting ready to play a clip, but my name is Keith Carter. I have had the opportunity to work with Lucasfilms, Disney, Marvel Comics. I can't pronounce it, this Japanese company, but anybody know who Ultraman is? Okay, anybody into manga or anime? All right, so anyway, Ultraman is one of these characters from Japan, and so anyway, I do work for this Japanese company. I can't even pronounce the name. ABC, PBS, CNN, NFL, USA Today, National Geographic, Washington Post, etc., and so on. Now, I don't say all this to toot my horn, because I take the approach of Woody Allen. Are you guys familiar with Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Okay, Woody Allen says 99% of success is just showing up. I'm a dude who just showed up. I'm the guy when everyone else left, I'm the one who stayed in the audience. All right, let that hippie guy get on up here and give him the job. I really think that's what happened. It wasn't that I was any better than anybody. Matter of fact, the artists that I admire are these super talents. Again, they got brand names. Lucasfilm, George Lucas, he's a brand name. Andy Warhol, he's a brand name. Keith Carter's not a brand name. I'm just a B-level, professional artist, but I look at those guys, and those are guys who inspire me. So that's why I say I'm just a solid professional artist. So I'm going to play some clips here, and so I'm just trying to hook you into who I am. So roll clip one, please. But I want to roll it with audio. There you go. So basically, this is a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything I've done, working in television, working in film. I had 13 years of work in television animation. I worked at the Smithsonian. Has anybody ever heard of the Cannes Film Festival? Anyway, the Cannes Film Festival is the granddaddy of film festival, and I'm sure you heard of Sundance Film Festival. So anyway, this is bigger than Sundance. I mean, this is a place where you go to market and sell your films. This is where great art, artistic films come out of. And me and a friend of mine who is also an animator, he and I created this film called Hope that actually played at the Cannes Film Festival. So this led to opportunities to doing feature films. I think it was a clip of one of the horror movies we did called Nosferatu in 3D. And anyway, I'm presently working on a new script called Curse of the Crybaby, based off a Native American legend from back where some of my peeps are from here that's in the audience in Clinton, North Carolina. And so anyway, I'm about to show another clip here. This is something I did for ABC. It was called Savings Man. It was a commercial or a PSA to help you save your money. Like Savings Man, beware of credit card guy, but Savings Man will help you with this. So run clip 2, please.
Savings Man here with a story for you about 2 young spenders named Tommy and Sue. Their parents let them buy whatever they chose, like video games and designer clothes. As they grew older, they spent all their pay on fancy cars, houses, 2 lattes a day. They lived in the moment, never saving a dime. When they tried to retire, they run out of time. Working forever is Tom and Sue's fate, so choose to save now before it's too late. Visit our website to find out more, because a happy ending's worth saving for.
Good pause. Okay. So this thing right here, it doesn't even have much animation. It's just drawings and camera moves. It was very primitive. Have you guys ever heard of the Emmy Awards? You've just looked at an Emmy Award-winning production. How that won out, Emmy, I have no idea. They must have had no one to give them to that year. So I'm looking at this, I was like, how is this possible? But that is an Emmy Award-winning production, which of course opened other opportunities to do more productions, more, okay. There's do you guys know the story of Joseph, when and he was, betrayed by his brothers, and there was some second most powerful in Egypt, and the scripture said everything that he did, he prospered because the Lord was with him. I don't know if the Lord's with me like that, but all I know, I've had opportunities. I'm not nowhere as talented as some of the people that I admire. So I'm thinking, how is this possible? Maybe it's possible the Lord is with me too. I don't know, but I'm grateful for the opportunities. I'm grateful for the experiences. And again, you're thinking, how's this got to do with our gathering here tonight? I'm leading up to that. So, working for all these different companies led to me working at USA Today. And I worked at USA Today for 20 years. You guys heard of USA Today, right? Yeah? Okay, so anyway, it's not the print product that it was. It's more digital products now. But anyway, there was a writer or CEO that worked at a company, and one of the things she said in her memoirs says, though you may love your job will never love you. And that was so true, because after 20 years of service, my company decided in their infinite wisdom to retire me. So all of a sudden, I'm now out of job at 53 years old. But before I go any further about USA Today, and we're going to play a couple clips to show you some of the work I did there. Oh, I'm sorry, pause. That's my fault. Before we get to USA Today, these are some of the things. I showed you a bunch of my television work and animation work. This is some of the print stuff that I've done over the years. So go ahead and continue with that. From trading cards for Star Trek to more Marvel products, more trading cards. You might buy these trading cards out there. I don't even know what that was. Something else for Marvel. Star Wars. I worked for the Lucasfilms doing those movies. This is something to do with the journalists that we worked at USA Today. Baseball cards. We need baseball card people. These are promos that never got me any work. That's the Japanese company I can't pronounce. That's supposed to be good. And that was the movie I did. Or like the background in 3D. These are paperbacks or trading paperbacks. This is the storyboards for the movie I'm working on now. An album cover from somebody in Europe. More covers for this, covers for that. This is some of the work that I did with Cross-Examine. More covers, and I think the next one coming up, that's my new movie, Curse of the Crybaby. Now you can hit pause, please. So anyway, Curse of the Crybaby is a movie that again, it's been in development for I don't know how long. This raising money is not up to me as some producer, so if it happens, it happens. I can't keep up with it. I did my part. But anyway, I'm getting back to the reason that I'm here tonight, the reason my I'm here. So after USA Today was over, I, was in that place. And you can imagine, after, you're so conditioned to draw a paycheck, you're so conditioned, to have the money, all of a sudden this is done, this is dried up. I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, my wife, who is here tonight, she helped me realize, we got enough money saved, and because I was living in D.C., we're in D.C., and when my mom passed away, we moved back to North Carolina, and again, I had a house, beach house, and all this property, and so I didn't have to work anymore because we had a house that didn't cost us anything. We had all this money saved, so I was free from working for the man at 53 years old, so I was so happy. And so I was wanting to do whatever I wanted to do. What is my art? What do I want to do? Now, mind you, I'm with the Lord, and the Lord is with me, and I thank the Lord, gosh, thank you for setting me free so I can now do whatever it is I want to do. And I didn't know what that was. I want to explore. And somewhere in that 6 months, what happened? I got a thought. I'm not saying this was God inspired. I don't know. But the thought is what if God set me free for a reason? Right. Now I was open to it because I'm with God. So, but what can I do? I'm not a speaker. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a maybe it was something in the church. Maybe I had no idea. So anyway, all this is going on. And before I go to that, I wanted to read something from the scripture here. So I'm going to be reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 31. Now I want to let you know something here. For you academics out there, I'm actually reading from a children's Bible here. And why am I reading from a children's Bible? For a couple reasons. The first reason is, this is when the Lord first spoke to me. When I was 10 years old, anybody know what G.I. Joes are, right? Yeah. Okay, I was really into G.I. Joes, but they weren't the little Joes, they're the 12-inch Joes. So I got all this big Christmas of G.I. Joe this, G.I. Joe that. And of course, there was this children's Bible. Oh, thanks so much, Dad. I sit that to the background. All the G.I. Joe toys are gone, but this still remained. Now, I never read it, because though I was raised in the Lord, I really wasn't with the Lord at that time. It was this part of what we did, more like the culture. But anyway, in this book, my mom and dad wrote that the answers to the keys to life are here. And so this has a sentimental value to me. So that's one of the reasons I read it. The other reason I read it is because this is when I first heard the voice of the Lord. So anyway, reading from Exodus chapter 31, verses 1 through 5. The Lord also said to Moses, "See, I have appointed Bezalel, son of Uri, the grandson of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, giving him great wisdom, ability, and in skill in constructing the tabernacle and everything it contains. He is highly capable as an artistic designer of objects made of gold, silver, and bronze." Now, I read this, and according to this scripture, Bezalel had the Spirit of God. This is when they were exiting and they were building all this, for the future of the Israelites. So I thought, is it possible that the Lord is in me like this? I'm not saying it was, but all of a sudden when I had that thought, maybe the Lord set me free for a reason, I was open to what that was. So anyway, that leads me to how I found the world of apologetics. Let me see here. Did we show the USA Today clips? Did I just show that?
No.
Okay, so before I move on to this, let me show you some things I did at USA Today.
Why mittens?
That's my hand.
They make sense for babies, but why do adults wear them? It's not like we continue to use a pacifier. So which is warmer, mittens or gloves? Gloves? Wrong. Mittens are warmer. Mittens trap the heat generated from your fingers.
Yeah, keep it playing so no one right behind me.
Well, we did Record Store Day 2014. We set up Jack White in the performance space. He did 2 songs, A side and B side, 7-inch 45. We ran them down the street to United Record Pressing, which was about 2 miles away. We went through the electroplating process, the pressing process, printed picture sleeves there of photos taken during the performance. And in 3.5 hours, we had recorded, pressed, and released in our storefront a record, which is the fastest anyone has ever done. And this is a format that's been around since the 1880s.
And so after 20 years of doing productions for them, and again, it's not all for television, it was all for the devices, the eye this and the eye that, we had to have video content. So all my television experience, really helped me there. But now that I was free from USA Today, I was like, well, what is it the Lord wants me to do? I had no idea. And so I had this neighbor. This neighbor of mine, we were talking about some issues in her church, and I think she was referring to homosexuals having leadership roles in the church, and she wanted to know what my thoughts were on that. And I said, well, before I do that, let me ask. I was trying to understand where she was in her lordship. And so I started asking her questions about the scriptures, and I said, now how do you feel about this? She said, oh, Keith, that's a moral tale. That didn't really happen. Oh, okay. Then I brought up something else. Oh, yeah, that was something that, that's really like a myth. But look at the lesson you learn from this. And so everything I said for her, the scriptures were not historically accurate. Or historically, she didn't believe it had any historical value at all. So then I just got to the heart of the matter. I said, well, do you believe in the gospel? The Son of Man that came to die for all humanity. And she said, I believed he believed it. And then I said to myself, I just said out loud, I said, why does this woman even call herself a Christian? Why is she even going to church? I couldn't figure that out. But what I did realize, for me to talk to people like her and bring out things in the Bible, that it didn't register anything for her, because this here doesn't have any value as far as having any truth to it. So I realized I needed some other source. If I was going to talk to people, I didn't know what that was. But a friend of mine who was working with Frank Turek, he just started working with him and going talking about apologetics. He said, well, Keith, you need to get involved. And he gave me this book to read. And the book, has anyone read this book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist? Other than, nobody, you guys read it? Very good. So after reading this book, and it was packed with information, packed with, information about, did Christ rise from the dead? Is it possible this truth exists? Is it possible that the New Testament is historically reliable? So all of a sudden, I felt this energy about, what in the world, I can learn from this and take from this. So one of my people at my church said, hey, well, they're having a debate at NC State, and it was between William Lane Craig and this atheist. Anybody here know William Lane Craig? Oh, yeah, okay, all right. So for those of you that don't, he is a very academic speaker. This guy spoke English for 2 hours. I still don't know what he said. At the end of the thing, I was like, huh? What? I understood the atheists, but I understood him, and I thought, well, if they're only going to speak to the academics of the world, how are they going to speak to me? I'm Joe Snow, or this lady, or this man. If we can't understand what they're talking about. So I was done with apologetics, and I'm not done with the Lord. I'm still ready to do what he wants me to do, but I was done with apologetics. But I also saw a handful of weeks later that Frank Turek was going to be speaking in Wilmington, North Carolina, and this was the book that really kind of inspired me. So I said, okay, I'll go listen to him. And so I went to listen to him, and Frank Turek, and I highly encourage anyone to go and listen to this guy as a dynamic speaker. He's entertaining, he's funny, he's informing, and all of a sudden, and he would take these big words I couldn't understand, and he would break them down to, oh, that really means, and he would tell what it is, and I really learned something from this. And so I was very grateful, and all of a sudden I felt this fire or this excitement, like, could I do something for them? And again, was this the Spirit of the Lord? I don't know, but I just felt an excitement to want to do something. So I called my buddy who worked there, and I said, at USA Today, I used to do all these graphics and animation, explain these things in the news that, you're trying to simplify very heavy concepts, so the average Joe Smo would read this or could understand it. And maybe I could do some of this for some of his theology, so I can understand it. So they gave me a trial run, they gave me a test, and all of a sudden, boom, I've been down there for 5 years. So let me give you a few examples of the kind of stuff I did with Frank, and it's 2 back-to-back. This is one of his book trailers.
In a world obsessed with superhero movies, is there anything to learn about God on the big screen? More than you think. Discover how your favorite heroes in movies reveal God. Hollywood Heroes, coming soon to a book retailer near you.
question I ask people who are not Christians is this: if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? I've had atheists stand at microphones in front of hundreds of people on college campuses. I ask them that question: if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? And they say no. And I go, no! How is that reasonable? How is that rational? It's not. The problem isn't here, the problem's here. They don't want it to be true. They don't want there to be a God. Why? Because they want to be God. They want to be God of their own lives. They have a moral objection to God. In fact, one famous atheist, Thomas Nagel, said, I have a cosmic authority problem. I don't want there to be a God. See, most of us, we're not on a truth quest, we're on a happiness quest. And we're just going to believe whatever we think is going to make us happy. Here's the problem: you can make yourself happy over the short term, doing a lot of fun but ultimately destructive things, yet over the long term it's a disaster. And everyone watching this video who's over 40 knows what I'm talking about, because most of us have tried it. The only way to get true contentment and happiness is to go straight through truth, and Jesus is the truth. So, ask the question: if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? If the person says yes, then give them some evidence. If they hesitate or say no, the problem isn't here, the problem's here. Just stay in their lives, pray for them, and love them, and maybe there'll be an opportunity in the future.
Okay, can you pause? So this is a couple examples of the kind of stuff I've been doing with Cross-Examine. And I have to say that this job, which, again, it's really just part-time work, but it's mission work. You know, this has been the most fulfilling as an artist, because as an artist, and maybe for the graphic designer that was saying, you know, is if you work as a commercial artist, which is some of the stuff I showed you earlier, you're servicing your clients. You know, your art is for your client, not for yourself. And the same thing is happening here, but all Frank cares about is the theology. So if I got the theology right, I'm able to create the way I want to create it. I'm able to design the way I want to. So it's a very freeing, very wonderful experience, very wonderful job. So in my time of you know, working with the Cross-Examine, it's been one of my best creative jobs, you know, in all my professional experience. But even though working at a mission, you know, you have your source of working with folks and have button heads, and you know, there's one time I thought I was either going to have to go to another planet or I'm going to have to start working with animals, because I just was having difficulty working with people. And of course, Frank, he's an alpha male, and he's got a lot to say, and he didn't realize he hired another alpha male, so our heads started butting, and you know, he was saying this and I was saying that, and we couldn't find middle ground. I had worked on something for 3 weeks, and he was having problems with this, and so I was saying, you know, well, Frank, no worries, I just give him all the information, it's up to you now. And I was like, you know, I don't need this job, I'm free. The Lord set me free, I don't have to do this job. And so, but on this same day when we had butted heads at our church, one of the people that had our Sunday school class, or not Sunday school class, but had a Bible store on Wednesday, they needed someone to fill in because someone dropped out at the last minute. So they called me, and of course I didn't have any material, but I had all the stuff I worked on for Frank for 3 weeks, and so I guess I can take that. And so I brought all this stuff, and I was playing the clips, and the Lord gave me this moment where I could objectively look at what Frank was doing, what we were doing, and I felt the sense of pride. Not the negative pride, but the pride that you're doing something that's worth doing. And I saw Frank, and I said, you know, he really is, he's got something out there that people need to hear, people need to see, and I felt motivated, and I was able to look past my stupidity and my pride, which is why we were butting heads. And so I'm grateful the Lord gave me that experience, because I now realize I'm not going to let that, you know, because we're doing mission work. And there's some people that live in third world countries that do their mission work, and their lives are in danger. I'm sitting home with a shawl on my legs watching reruns of 90210. That's how tough I got it. And so if I'm ready to quit because of my pride, I mean, how good a mission worker am I? Terrible. So anyway, when I got up and I called Frank, I said, listen, man, we're going to get this thing right. Whatever you want it to do, we want it to be, we're going to make that happen, because I just had the clarity of, you know, it's not about me. And it ain't about Frank. It's about Christ. And it's about the mission of getting the word out there, because they're trying to get people convinced that Christ rose from the dead, so you can make a good choice on where you want to spend your eternity. So right now where I'm at, I say that unless they fire me, that's it. I'm with them to the end of my days. And so am I making the money that I made back in my my commercial days? Absolutely not. I'm barely making anything. But I'm grateful for the money. Again, I almost feel like the Levites. You know, we're living in the promised land, my wife and I, and mine is still falling from heaven. So it's without question, it has been a blessing, which brings me to one of the reasons that Mike brought me here, because I saw, before I say this, play the next clip, please. This is the book trailer for a graphic novel.
Does truth exist? Does God exist? Are miracles possible? Is the New Testament historically reliable? These are the questions that need to be answered to build a 4-point case for what C.S. Lewis calls mere Christianity. Now you can get these answers like never before in our brand new, beautifully illustrated comic book presentation. Get your copy today.
So we premiered that at the SES Apologetics Conference in October, and really what all this came down to is Frank has written several books, but this is his big seller. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. And sometimes when he gets in front of, he speaks to a lot of university campuses and churches, so when they have their Q&A, he doesn't have time to always make his point. So what does he do? He says, well, listen, if I give you a book, will you read it? And of course, as you guys got your funnels, you got your own books that you read. You don't have to read another book. So I said, Frank, what would happen if we could design something that could read in 10 minutes and just kind of, bullet point what is it you want to say, so hopefully, you can say, hey, if I give you a book, you read it, and they give you a look, man, it's a comic, it'll take you 10 minutes to read it. Then hopefully they'll read the book and want to read, because this really is this graphic novel is a gateway to more and very good information. So that's the whole genesis behind doing the comic, and of course that's why I was at the conference where I met Mike, and of course he invited me to come here. So anyway, the message, I guess, I'm saying all this to say this. At the end of the day, when I stand before the God of the universe, I have done my part. What did the Lord say to me, well done? I can't confidently stand up here and say, he's going to say well done, because I don't know. I feel a lot of people are going to get into heaven by his grace. Everyone who gets is going by his grace. But how many are going to hear the words, well done? It's like, you remember grace, you remember grace, you remember grace. Oh, well done, true and faithful servant. You remember grace. I wonder, am I going to get that? And I can't say that I am. And I think about this man that I read. Anybody ever heard of the book Peace Child by Don Richardson? This guy spent 20 years of his life in Papua New Guinea back in the 60s, and he raised his wife and children amongst the Sawi people who were cannibals. And he brought the Christian message to these people, to this very barbaric, primitive living. Now you have to understand, when you live amongst these folks, these people, you have to learn the people, you have to learn the culture, you have to learn the language, then you have to develop a language. Then you have to develop writing, and you have to teach them all this so they can read. Then he's got to translate the scripture. So, you can imagine that's 20 years of his life. When I read his book and saw him speak, I felt quite confident when he stands before the God of the universe. He's going to go, whoa, well done, true and faithful servant. So, I say this for you guys and gals. Whatever the Lord has for you, whatever it is, and again, you got different professions, you got different desires, but there's a way to bring this together. And again, it doesn't have to be overt. It can be something subtle, but something that the Lord's giving you to give it your all, give it your 200%. I may not know you're giving 200. He may not know, you might know, but God knows. Because it really would be something for the Lord to say to you, well done. How long is it going to hear it? That would truly be some great words to hear from the God of the universe. And check this out. If you're working mission work, you're working for the God of the universe. Can you get any higher than the God of the universe? Unless the apologists are right. It is a multiverse. Then maybe sometimes you can do a lateral move. But for right now, this is the universe, and that is the God. So anyway, with that, all that being said, I have one more clip to show you. And again, I've shown you a lot of fun stuff that I do. And again, it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work as well. But this is a more serious clip because, we're covering a lot of things and, we're trying to reach people. So play this last clip for me, please.
Back in the fall of 2003, Republican Senator Sam Brownback of Kansas debated Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer of California on partial birth abortion. During the debate, Senator Brownback showed a photograph of a 21-week-old fetus that was spared an abortion by doctors who had operated on the baby while still in the mother's womb. The Republican senator then asked, "Is this the hand of a person or the hand of a piece of property?" To which Senator Boxer responded, "I am not a doctor and I am not God. I trust other human beings to make these decisions." Question: do you have to be a doctor or do you have to be God in order to know that this is a human being? This is Molech, a Canaanite god. The scriptures strongly condemn any practices associated with Molech, which included child sacrifice. And yet, the nation of Israel were sacrificing their offspring to this metallic deity. A ritual started by King Solomon 350 years prior to the judgment. So, how exactly were the children of Israel being sacrificed? Step 1. The priest of Moloch would heat up the metallic idol. Step 2. The metal surface of the idol would become blazing hot. Step 3. The children of Israel were placed on the molten arms of Moloch as a burnt offering. In other words, the children of Israel were literally being burned alive. And these were God's chosen people who were performing such atrocities. But after 3.5 centuries of rebellious behavior, God's patience with Israel had come to an end. And the Lord God sent forth his prophet Jeremiah to the city of Jerusalem to proclaim the following message. "The people of Judah have sinned before my eyes, says the Lord. They burn their sons and daughters in the fire. I have never commanded such a horrible deed. So beware, for a time is coming when the bodies of my people will be food for the vultures. The land will lie in complete desolation." And this is what the God of the universe thinks of sacrificing your children on the altar of convenience, complete and utter desolation. How much longer does America have before God passes judgment on us? We're actively aborting over 860,000 innocent lives per year. That translates to roughly 2,400 human victims a day. What will be our just punishment?
It's heavy stuff, but all we're putting out is facts and information. Of course, everything we do is up to you guys, the people, the viewers, to decide what you're going to do with that. It's a matter of the mind, not the heart. If the information's there, are you going to take this, or what are you going to do with it? And what are you going to do with the talents and the special abilities that made you, you, for the Lord? Everyone here says they know the Lord and you're with the Lord. There's opportunities there He can use us all to do. And you may not have to do art or do design or do music, but there's something out there that you can do. But only you and God knows what that is, but you have to be open to do it. And again, I know you guys are students, you're getting your place in the world and getting your degrees and all this stuff before you get out there, but it's anything, it can even be small things, subtle things, So I just put that as a task, as a challenge to, let's try to push ourselves to, let's see if one day when we face the God of the universe, where we get those two words, well done. Guys, that's all I got. That's all I have. So again, I know this is a little different than what you're used to. I do open up. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask some questions. I mean, it's a little bit different what you do normally. So anybody got anything they want to ask? Nobody, huh? No one's inquisitive at all, huh? Okay. Then guess what? It's done. All right, what? What you got, man? Aaron?
What's the hardest thing to draw?
The hardest thing to draw?
Yeah,
For me or for any artist?
for you.
For me.
Yeah, 'cause I can't even draw a dog, so I don't know what.
I probably would say it really is the human figure. Because you really, a lot of times, if you got to draw the human figure, I can't do that without reference. You know, I mean, cartoons is one thing, but drawing a hand, you really got to have reference. So, I mean, that's probably the toughest for a lot of artists because that's, everybody knows what a hand looks like,
Right.
Again, this is a stylized version of doing somebody, but to really do one accurately and realistically, it takes time, it takes discipline. And more than any, oh, come on, young lady, you don't have a question, do you? What?
I would like to know, can anyone purchase your comic book if they wanted to, and what would it cost?
Oh my goodness. Okay, if you guys, I'm very bad salesman, very bad businessman. If you guys want to purchase the book, of course you can get it from Cross Examin's website, but we also have some hardcovers back there, soft covers, and box sets if you guys want to buy. The soft covers are really expensive. The $4, the hardcovers are $12. Box sets are $30. So again, I know your money is tight, so if you want to purchase, go ahead and feel free. And like I said, you can also buy them from the website. Very good question, young lady. Look at this, business person. Anybody else? All right, well guys, thanks for having me, appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.